You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch movies and TV about... You know how, like, sometimes, Jody, you have a dream where you're, like, back in your childhood home, but then you wake up and you realize it's not your childhood home. It was, like, the Full house because you spent so much time, like, watching that show. You know,
you mean the Golden Girls house.
Or for you, it was the Golden Girls house.
Yeah.
We've all got them, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we talk about
Or
here
Angela Chase's house.
or Angela Chase, or Dawson Leary's house.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about here on The Watchers.
Yes.
Guess what, Jody?
What?
We have a guest today.
We're
very selective about guests
We've had,
here.
what, 3 guests?
This is our 3rd guest in a year and a half.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
I know.
Yes.
You're in good company, Tommy. So I will say, folks who also listen to New Jersey is the World, they're going to recognize our guest from an episode of South Jersey is also the World from like over a year ago now, I think. I will say, just as a reminder for those listeners, I invited Tommy Avallone on then to talk about one of his projects, but mostly we ended up talking about a movie theater that we both worked at like 20-some years ago. So we probably won't get into that as much today. I've invited him here to talk about something that is so relevant to our interests on The Watchers, Jody. So quick little intro for Tommy. Tommy Avallone is a producer, director, editor, writer, filmmaker. They call those a multi-hyphenate, I think. He's behind the documentaries I Am Santa Claus, Waldo on Weed, the Bill Murray stories, I Love You, You Hate Me, and most recently, The House From, which is a documentary that takes a look at houses that have become famous from movies and TV and the people who live in them and love them. Welcome to the podcast, Tommy. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
This is going to be very fun. So, Tommy, the documentary, can you let folks know if they're in the Jersey area? I know there's an opportunity to see it somewhere very cool very soon, and where else they can find it. So let's start there.
So, big time Kevin Smith fan. Always sort of wanted to be Kevin Smith when I was younger. And so we are premiering the movie at the Kevin Smith Smodcastle Film Festival at the Smodcast Cinemas in Atlantic Highlands, right near his area in Red Bank, October 25th at 6:30 p.m. It's the only screening we have. And then 2 days later, October 27th, it will be on the Maximum Effort channel, the Mr. Ryan Reynolds man. And then the next day, October 28th, we're everywhere, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, all that sort of stuff, all the fun digital areas.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
if you're in the Jersey area, you should definitely get out to... Jody and I were just at Smodcastle for Vulgarthon, so not just that, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
And so it's such a fun place, and everybody there was so lovely, and I just know it's going to be a great time. So if you can get out to it.
How was the Vulgarthon?
It was really fun. We made it.
We had a good time, yeah.
Yeah, we left. We didn't make it all the way through because we're both in and around 40, so... But
we would have made it longer. You had to catch a train.
That's true. Also, I had to catch a train. Jody and I, though, were lucky enough. We got a chance to watch it yesterday. I already told you I loved it. I think our listeners are going to love it. So let's talk about it. I'll start. Obvious question. I have to ask it, though. Why this project? Why now?
Well, I mean, the why now, I guess, is a good question because we started 5 years ago. So the why now is because it got done. And then, I always been a person that loved going or trying to go to locations, living about 15, 20 minutes away from the Rocky Steps. It was such a weird scenario. Like, oh, well, that's where that guy jumps up those steps and yells, But then also... there was a school by me that always looked like the clock tower from Back to the Future. So I was like convinced, and there was like a J.C. Penney's not too far away. I was like, oh, this is Back to the Future, but it wasn't, But then like later as I got older, when Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy came out, it was one of those things where I was like, I can just drive an hour and a half and go to these places. Like I can go to RST Video and the Quick Stop and all that stuff. So, or Jack's Music from Chasing Amy. It was one of those scenarios where we would go to the Quick Stop and pull the eggs out, pull the milk out, do all the bits, and yell bad words outside of the video store and all that sort of stuff. And
cancer merchant.
Throw
cigarettes.
Yeah. So that was like always a thing. And then me and my wife moved to Los Angeles for a couple years, and like, we would live, like, we were like 10 minutes from the Wonder Years house. They're like, wait, like, and I left an area, like, I used to work in Philadelphia where real history happened, like the Living Spell and Ben Franklin, and I couldn't care less, so it was so it's like, you're telling me that Elm Street's not too far from me, or it was crazy to be around that sort of stuff. So I loved it. So to make a documentary about it was the next sort of like logical step, to show up with a camera and going, can I come in? But like, it was funny. Like, I've always wanted to do this. Like, I just thought that would be so great, but like, how do you start this project?
Yeah.
So the only real Hollywood party I ever went to, John Stamos was there, and we kind of already sort of knew each other through like a mutual friend. And I don't know if
a very funny person to have a mutual friend with.
Yeah. So it was, I don't know if he was trying to get rid of me or what, but like, he's like, because he knew I liked like locations and houses and stuff like that. He's like, oh, Jeff Franklin's over here. Let me introduce you to him. And Jeff Franklin created Full House. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, you own the Full House, and oddly enough, I'm not sure if you know this, but he actually owned, at the time, he owned the Full House, and he lived in the Manson murder house on Cielo Drive.
I did not
know.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, let's talk. Come over to my house for lunch. So I'm like, the Cielo Drive, you're driving up Cielo Drive, and the house got knocked down, the murder house, and he built this like crazy mansion that has like a chef living there. And so we talked, and I told him about the project, and he's like, yeah, I'll be in San Francisco in a month, just come by. And this is 2019. So we filmed this interview and tried to pitch it as a TV show.
Interesting.
But it's not true crime. No one dies in these houses, unless we did the Manson murder house, but he didn't want me to do that. And yeah, so it just wouldn't work. Like, places were like, oh, well, there's no sizzle, there's no drama, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I'm just going to make this myself, So we filmed a whole bunch of stuff. I moved back to New Jersey. We did Barney, and then we finished the project after Barney. That's why now, because we just finished.
Because now it's done. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, thank you to John Stamos.
I love that. That's so fun.
So I have a question. So like Andrea said, we both watched this last night, and as soon as I got weirdly emotional a number of times.
Oh yeah?
I cried twice.
Yeah. So I don't know why. Before we hopped on, Andrea and I were talking about the Golden Girls, and I asked her which Golden Girl she would be, and she said the only one no one wants to be is Dorothy, and that's the one I would be. But that show meant a lot to me, and so did Pee-wee. And so seeing those two right at the beginning, it was just like, I mean, I'm Gen X. I'm older than both of you by a little bit, but it was just, there's certain shows that people in my generation have such an attachment to. And now that I'm in my 40s and the women in Golden Girls were in their 50s when that was filmed, it's feeling closer and closer every day. So I said I had a question, and my question is there one?
This is more of a comment than a question.
More of a comment. I'm so good at that. I did that at Vulgarthon. I was the first person to ask a question, and I had a comment, not a question, for Kevin Smith. Anyway, my question is there a house that you covered in this documentary that was, like, for you, the biggest deal? Like, you personally?
I guess like the Full House, because like it's something that I had visited already, and the fact that I got to go inside of it, like I'll tell you, I peed in so many famous houses, it's crazy, But what was so bizarre about that house was it was constant people,
Yeah.
And when I walked out of it, it was like that Backstreet Boys video where they get off the jet, and all the girls are like, and I would walk down the steps, and people just did not get out of my way. Like, they don't know I don't. They don't know I don't live there. I could, like I'm walking out of the door, and they just didn't get out of the way. And I thought that was like, oh, that must be very difficult to work out of, when you're doing that every day.
It's such a sense of ownership.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I was like, you kind of see at the end of the movie where I'm just like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I have to leave.
Yeah, but so that was it. I wish we would have gotten to do the Boy Meets World house because like I had such a soft spot for that house.
Well, and it's technically Philly, right? Where's the house for real though?
Oh, for real, it's in it's right by Burbank. What's that? Studio City.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's such a you don't even know you're walking by because there's like all these like sort of trees in the front. But it was an Airbnb for a minute, and I don't know if it's there anymore, but I missed it.
Andrew, remember when you lost your mind because I had met Ryder Strong a few times?
I love Ryder Strong. Can I interject? Like, Waldo and Weed was playing at Tribeca, and there was a Tribeca party in Beverly Hills. And I got to like run into him as the first. I had spoke to him on the phone because we were MySpace friends, and I was doing I had a column, and I got to interview him for that. But I was just like, you are the best, because it's like Boy Meets World was based in Philly, so it's right near where I'm from. My principal was my neighbor. And my best friend got into a whole bunch of trouble all the time. So I felt so connected to that show. And so, yeah, it was a slightly awkward moment, but, I have his email now, so everything's fine.
Yeah. So the thing that kind of took me by surprise as a person who is kind of pop culture obsessed, and also obsessed with places, like the two podcasts that I host, one is about being obsessed with New Jersey and the other one is about being obsessed with movies and TV. And I was still surprised at how, some of the houses, like you said, Jody, the Golden Girls house, I had such a reaction to, not just that's, where these characters were, but the house, the space itself. And I hadn't realized that was in me. I really thought I was going to watch this and be like, oh, this is really cool. It's so cool to see these houses and to see these stories. But I was really moved a handful of times. It's really, really incredible.
Well, that's funny to hear because for this, I think Barney had a Trojan horse sort of message, and Bill Murray, Simon and Waldo very much. But this just felt like a fun ride to me. As it's just a lot of fun stuff to talk. And we talk about the things we worship and how pop culture is the new religion, and but it's fun to hear that you got emotional on it. But particularly with Golden Girls, we didn't use this one part, but the one lady we talked to was talking about how with Golden Girls, you're almost the fifth Golden Girl.
Yeah, totally.
In the perspective of they're sitting around this table and you're also at the table and you're watching this stuff at home, so you just feel this connection. You feel like a part of it. TV over movie, especially at the time, more sitcoms than anything, not so much the one camera, but you just feel like you're a part of this family. You see them week by week. Yeah. And so there is this strong connection. And I think there is a reason why Full House is such a big opportunity, because it was such a family show. And Golden Girls is very similar. Oddly enough, Golden Girls is 15 minutes away from Fresh Prince. And Fresh Prince is on the same block where O.J. Simpson used to live.
Oh my God, that's a very LA thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild.
I will say, I don't consider myself to be pop culture obsessed, and I am on a podcast about pop culture and went to a movie marathon at Kevin Smith's movie theater. So maybe I'm just lying to myself, but I found myself at first being really judgy of the people that were making these pilgrimages, even though I host a podcast with a person who has gone to Dawson.
I actually haven't seen his house, but I've been to other sites from the show in North Carolina.
Yeah. But then I found myself getting so mad about what they did to the Golden Girls house. When you guys showed the person who used to live there, that lovely young man, the picture of it, and it was the color was changed. There was fencing. It didn't look like the same place at all. I got mad. I was like, why would they do that to that house?
And the Family Matters house. I was
I know.
Seeing it look like every building that's gone up in Philly over the last 10 years was that was brutal.
I was just going to say, as a college professor, I really appreciated the academic language inserted in there because honestly, that's what I mean when I say I got emotional and then I got mad and all of that stuff. As someone who tries to pull apart why things affect us the way they do, I teach photography and image literacy. It really, I personally really wanted a little bit of a pullback to talk about the why of it all, why we attach ourselves to these things so much. So I actually really liked having that in there.
Yeah, like we could have went further in it, but like, you know, I think it is this like these images we worship and what they mean to us. You know, it's like for, you know, on millions of people, it's the house from Golden Girls, but to one family, it's home, you know, and like, and I mean, like it is like one of those things where it's their house. They can do whatever they want, right? But they did spend $4 million on this house that is pretty iconic, you know, especially the Golden Girls. We had actually cut a lot from that scene. But like, you know, the family, so it was like the guy we interviewed, it was his parents that passed away, but it was their house. They built it, you know, and Brentwood, when like, you know, Brentwood wasn't like whatever, you know, they built that house, they created that house, and, you know, there was such a relationship there. But, you know, at the time they bought it for like, I think the land maybe 10,000, the house itself was 40. You know, and when it went into a trust, you know, the family just couldn't really afford to do it. Yeah. So it's like, so they couldn't afford a $4 million house, but so they had to get rid of it. But yeah, they took up all the carpet, they took out all the like the flavor and like the style of it. Yeah. But the one grandson that we talked to, like, kept one of those, like you see the by the window right by your head there, like those little like those glass things that He has some of those.
Oh, nice. Cool. I really liked him. He was it was one of the interesting things for me was seeing how in each case the families dealt with it kind of differently. Like everything from the extreme of the woman screaming fuck at everybody that walked by her house to
Breaking Bad, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want people throwing pizzas on my house either, but like
that scene is fascinating, and that story, because it's, and for our listeners, the person who lives in the Breaking Bad house is understandably furious, but has become kind of like a character in her own way. And it just watching people like clearly they're hoping that she would react so they could react to her was like, it almost had nothing to do with the house at that point. It's really
she
fascinating.
Became the attraction, but not just the house.
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory, I think, when you look at the behavior of some fans versus the material that's on the show, you know, because it's like, I mean, you look at all the people who go to Full House. It's usually like, I mean, granted, it's in San Francisco, but it's like well put together, sort of people always smiling, all that sort of stuff. And Breaking Bad, here's this guy who's making meth, you know, and like, you know, killing people, and they're going and cursing at the house and all that stuff.
That's so funny.
You know, Goonies, that house had a little bit of a different relationship with it too, where they wasn't the best. And here's a movie about like taking what's mine, all that sort of stuff. And there was a lot. It's interesting to see what the audience was to the house, and then also what was in the actual narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel like the weird, not exception to that, but the anomaly to me was was it the Mike Myers house? No, it was was it the woman with leaves the pumpkins out?
Yeah,
it was Mike. Yeah, so it's a house from a horror movie, and she was like, I just want people to feel welcome and be happy and take pictures with the house if they want to, and I replaced the pumpkins from Michael's.
It's really sweet.
I was just like, this woman and the story of the movie and the house could not be further from each other in terms of like vibes generally, but she was just so delightful to listen to.
This got cut. I mean, we had to cut so much, but like she did say, she's like, but nothing bad happened in this house. You know, if I went to the house where like there was a killing in, it's like I'd have a different relationship. But it really is just Jamie Lee Curtis walks out with a pumpkin and that's it. You know,
right.
Like there is other houses where like the murders did happen. So who knows?
That's so funny.
I texted Andrea last night and I said that the people that bought the Silence of the Lambs house need to be on a watch list. Like I wouldn't even walk into that house, let alone buy it. Like.
Oddly enough, the guy he bought it off of used to be in the FBI.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I have to...
Well, that's like the guy who used to own the Miss Doubtfire house. His profession was like almost like a transgender surgery. It was like it was solely dealt with faces, but like the way he says it in the movie is he would turn, boys' faces into girls' faces. Like, it was like he created some sort of
facial feminization surgery, I think they call that. That just so happens that he
bought Aggie goes, "Oh, Miss Doubtfire House." He's like, "That's interesting if I bought it, because what I do." Like, he's a little, fan of himself. But like, it was really, I mean, he's a funny guy.
Some of the people I was like, man, Tommy, when you walked up and like shook hands with some of these people for the first time, you're like, oh, thank God they're characters. Like, these people are going to be great on camera.
Well, yeah, like, Bill, who owns the Pee Wee house, like, he was just naturally like awkward and fun,
Yeah.
But
really
I think
sweet.
you could. So in Barney, when we did the Barney documentary, there was a lot of different network executives and producers, and there's a lot of people telling you what to do. This, I had none of that. It's just like me and like two other people, like Raymond Esposito and like a couple other people, but like, so no one really got to tell me to do anything. And I think you notice it the most in the Can't Hardly Wait scene. So
That's the second time I cried, by the way.
Good. Yeah. Ethan Ombre and Joel, who was also in Can't Hardly Wait, went back to this house that was in Can't Hardly Wait, a movie that is like everything to me. Maybe not the most popular movie, but we dedicate like 11, 12 minutes to the movie. This, and everyone's like, you should probably cut that. I was like,
no.
Nope. Good. Because
as soon as that came on screen, I texted Andrea. I was like, how happy are you about this? The reenactment and everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
you think it trimmed. It was long. It was way long. Like, understandably, I should have trimmed. But like, even more people wanted me to trim it more. But I'm such an Ethan Ombre fan. He was in our Guar documentary, and I just fell in love.
He's just, it's like Can't Hardly Wait and Empire Records. I know those movies by heart. They are like truly everything to me.
We covered Empire Records on this a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was one of the first movies we talked about.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Well, that was filmed in North Carolina.
Yeah, and it takes place in Delaware, which feels fake. It feels like such a Jersey movie to me. I mean, they go to Atlantic City in the beginning.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like Asbury Park. That's like in my mind, I was picturing Asbury. Yeah.
Delaware's fake anyway.
It makes no sense that it's Delaware. That movie just feels so Jersey to me.
Cool.
I weirdly, so the Can't Hardly Wait house, you learn in the documentary, is a house that has been used, like those people are just kind of obsessed with getting their house and stuff, which I think is really cool. But I felt a little like, excuse me? No, that's the Can't Hardly Wait house. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely how I went into it. This movie is very curated outside of Twilight, Outsiders, and Goonies wasn't. I never really got into Goonies that much. As a kid, because I never watched it, but I appreciate it much now.
Right.
But Twilight, Outsiders, and Silence of the Lambs are movies that like weren't really on my radar, But other than that, it was like every movie I was like, Can't Hardly Wait. Yes, like it was like. And so, so going up to the house, I was like, kept calling it the Can't Hardly Wait house. And Liz, the owner, had no recollection of that movie because it was done before they owned it. And they had all these lists of like American Pie and she thought Risky Business was shot there, but I don't think that's accurate. It's actually a really interesting.
So many she forgot.
And she gave us the list, and like. But I had to force it. I was like, and Can't Hardly Wait.
It's so funny. And it's such a funny little kind of visual metaphor for the way that we all find different ways and reasons to connect to the things that we connect with. And I think this whole documentary is such a good example of that.
The Goonies house was a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean that house is just huge as far as fans. But I just want to say one more thing. Can't Hardly Wait. Yeah. But we
could just talk about Can't Hardly Wait for the rest of your time, and I'll be happy with that.
Well, Bill Murray Stories is the only documentary where I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
And you hear me a little bit in this movie, which is whatever. But there was no hiding it for Can't Hardly Wait because I'm literally laughing and smiling and just talking. You're just seeing me hang out with Ethan. Mm-hmm. Because Ethan Ombre is he's everything. He's Dutch, it's Can't Hardly Wait, Empire Records, That Thing You Do.
I know.
He in Harold and Kumar, he's just he's just like Vegas vacation.
Put $1 and I got a car. Put $1 and I got a car.
Yeah. So I mean, it was one of those things where like I just couldn't hide, and I refused. Like it was just like I just had a great time. You were going to see this,
Well, and he also seems like a genuinely cool person, and was like psyched to be there and do it. He looked like he was having a great time.
And it makes so much sense for this documentary. It just makes sense that the person making this documentary about people interacting with these things that they love from pop culture, like that you would be a small part of it. I think it totally made sense. I don't think it's not like you like were the Menendez brothers. Of course, you're on my mind. It's not like you were doing a documentary on them and all of a sudden you were in a shot, just like also me. So
yeah. Well, yeah. Like I didn't want to like see me in it. I didn't want to like all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like I'm. Like, if there is video proof of me hugging Ethan Umbre like, in the movie, it's not gonna happen,
That's so funny.
That's you could kind of feel that vibe in the movie, and I think that's one of the reasons that I connected to it, because like, I mean, I live in Rhode Island now. I drove down to Jersey to go to Vulgarthon, and I am usually way too cool I think I'm way too cool to go up to people and ask for photos. And literally, I saw Kevin Smith in the hallway, and I was like hovering near him, and he could totally feel it. And he was like, "Do you want a picture?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And like, I was so excited. So like, that sort of gleeful fandom when like you're in the presence of something that meant so much to you. Like, it's real for everybody, whether we think we've grown out of it or not. I guess.
Yeah. And like, way we approached this was like it's a National Geographic documentary, but instead of like lions and tigers and bears, it's like famous houses. So like I was completely okay with reminding people you're watching a documentary. Like like from like the mics or like me walking out from time to time or Derek or Charlie or Chris, any of the people we like filmed with, like as far as cameras, like I was totally okay with seeing that, because like it's okay to remind someone you're watching a documentary.
Yeah. I was weirdly sad the Blair Witch House is gone. I like only recently watched Blair Witch for the first time for this podcast. And now I'm like, wait, it's gone? Like, I wanted to go walk around the creepy thing. That's my jam.
Blair Witch is a good movie.
Yeah, I think it's great. I still think I had just watched it for the first time in a long time for the podcast, and I think it holds up.
We watched it, and then we watched the Dawson's Creek Halloween episode that was a take on it. Naturally.
Oh, well, I never watched Dawson's Creek.
Me either. This is my first time, and I've made Andrea's whole year by watching all of it.
I know you said you're older than us, but like I'm the age where my friends watch the sci-fi special on Blair Witch, and they're like, "We need to watch this. We think it's real."
I was like just a couple years, not too old for it. I know people that were really into it, but I also was never a huge horror movie person. I'm a scaredy cat. I don't, I'm not drawn to that kind of thing. So I think I just missed it. And then after all the hype, it was kind of like, well, I'm not going to go now. Like I know the whole story. Right. So literally like 20 plus years later, I finally watched it in a cabin in Wyoming, like by myself. But yeah, that also feels like a Jersey story. But maybe that's just us. Feels like the Pine Barrens.
Yeah, it could have been shot in the Barrens for sure. I think it's maybe a little harder to get lost that long, but anyway,
not if the Jersey Devil like fucks you up.
Exactly, like the Blair Witch, they shouldn't have been lost either.
Right,
that's so true. Have you seen, Tommy, the last broadcast?
Ooh, yeah.
No.
It's another, we did that for New Jersey is the World, I think. Or did we do that on here?
No, I think we did it New Jersey is the World, and we did it right after we watched Blair Witch.
Okay. It's another kind of like found footage fake documentary that was made right around the same time as the Blair Witch Project. In fact, Blair Witch is sometimes accused of having stolen from it, but apparently they didn't know about each other. But it's basically they go into the Pine Barrens to look for the Jersey Devil as a documentary crew. It's like the same idea, but
then it gets also real fucking weird at the end.
It's so fucking weird. You should watch it just because, like, I wouldn't say that it's good.
I would not say it's good.
You should definitely watch it. It is
I will
wild.
actually say it's really not good, but it's interesting.
And it's like full of kids with like Delco accents. It's really weird.
Yes.
It's so funny.
You definitely need to check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one house in mind. I'm going to ask you this question first before I ask you. Were there any houses you really tried to get to that just like, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out that you want to talk about?
So it's like when you're trying to book like a celebrity, you have a manager, an agent, a PR person. When you live in a famous house, you do not have that, So, and we did this like before like it was during the pandemic, but before the shot you get. What's that called?
Vaccine?
Vaccine,
yeah. So it's like, we would write, I literally would write like all these people letters and like say, hey, can we please come in your house? Like we all wore masks and all that sort of stuff, but like obviously not on camera, they didn't wear masks. So it was very like nice of them to allow us to do that. So there was like a bunch of people, like Liz from the Can't Hardly Wait house was one of the first people to respond back to me. And yeah, we had good success with the letters. The Sopranos house is something we really wanted to do.
That was my follow-up question.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm friendly with the owner, but he, like afterwards, but like he was like on the fence, like, but he built that house. Like he designed it and all that sort of stuff. So it was like such an organic way to like, oh, well, this is what makes it special,
Yeah.
They did this like, there was this DVD as like unofficial Sopranos DVD where like someone from the cast, like a C player, like kind of came over and did some like thing. He just had a bad experience with it and didn't really want to do it. He was just
bummer.
He's like, I'd rather just respect my privacy. But, me and my wife just watched like all Sopranos for the first time, like this last year. So we were in the area going to Fuddruckers, because I'm a huge Fuddruckers fan.
Right. Famously.
And I was like, I texted him. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna stop by. Can we could you say hi? So there's like a line of all these people like taking pictures, and like the owner kind of gives me the wave, and like this one guy was like, "Can you take me with you?"
You were like, made.
Yeah, you're a made man, Tommy.
We saw that. We saw the pool. We didn't go inside, but like. It was he had not opened the pool yet. It was like right before like summer started, but like
so
no ducks.
Yeah, no ducks. But it was definitely something we wanted to do because one of my producers knew is like a friend with Jamie Lynn. But yeah, so we were going to try to get her there, but like the owner didn't want to do it. But like I clearly understood why. And with the step-by-step house, he just didn't understand it. He was like. I showed him some clips from Friday. He's like, I don't want people coming into my house and putting their head in a window. I was like, that's really not really what it,
Yeah.
But my favorite was I was like, okay, well, let's go to Kid and Play's house party house. And oddly enough, no one goes there.
Really?
It was such a weird thing. Like, this is going to sound weird, but like, Joel Murray, Bill Murray's brother, knew the owner, and like I saw him like Facebook friends, and that's how I found out about it. And I was like, "Hey, can we come to your house?" She's like, "Sure," but no one comes here.
Wow,
I hadn't really thought about the fact that like what Golden Girls house makes so much sense. The Full House makes so much sense, but I wonder what it is. Why some like what would have had to have been different for the house party house? Because that seems like a no-brainer. That seems like everybody.
Like I was way more of a Class Act fan than House Party,
Totally.
So I couldn't visualize the House Party house at all, But like it has house in it, so I thought like it was good for it,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It feels like kind of the opposite of this, but I got so excited when my tiny New Jersey town was like. Remember when we watched?
Patty cakes.
Okay. But so it's kind of the opposite.
I love that movie, by the way.
It's so great. Good. So I grew up in such a weirdly specific part of New Jersey on the border of Bergen and Passaic County. It is not a place anyone has ever been or knows exists. And they literally filmed about 2 blocks from where I grew up. And I have never been more excited when watching a movie. Like, there's a video clip of us recording back when we still did that, and I'm like vehemently like trying to get Andrea to understand how important it is that they filmed in Saddlebrook.
Yeah, there's so many. I'm so annoying to watch anything with, because anytime there's even the smallest Jersey connection, like for example, Haddonfield, Illinois is based on Haddonfield, New Jersey, because one of the screenwriters is from Haddonfield. So I feel like Mike Myers' house and Laura Strode house are actually that might as well be Jersey to me, you know?
Yeah.
And like Camp Crystal Lake, and we know Friday the 13th. Like so many of those have like Jersey DNA.
And something that Tommy doesn't know about our podcast is that every single time we watch anything, we try to find a connection to New Jersey and are extremely annoying about it on our podcast. So
we're very good at it, though.
It worked. I mean, Patty Cakes is fantastic.
So good.
I forgot all about that movie, and I do have it in my DVD collection downstairs. But Haddonfield, I remember as one barbershop, though, like Bruce Springsteen took the
Darkness
picture
on the
right
Edge
by
of Town. That's right.
What?
Darkness on the Edge of Town. That's right.
But yeah, it is like there's like all this like fun stuff, and like yeah, for sure. Like I always think about New Jersey, but South Pasadena in California, like that's like when I drove around that area, because there's so many famous houses in that area. It just reminds you of Haddonfield, New Jersey, because like South Pasadena is like every town USA, and like if you just drive by in Haddonfield, it's the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, the same high school has shown up in
Halloween house is, you know?
Yeah. The same high schools have shown up in a number of the movies and TV shows we've talked about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the high school from Can't Hardly Wait was also the high school in like Greece. Yeah, John Marshall High School. Look it up. Like, there's so many things that's like in that school.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that show up like repeatedly. Like 90210, this is the same high school as something else that we watched. There's also the house that's in Garden State. That's that castle. Mm-hmm. That I was like just thinking of. I don't know why I was thinking, because we were talking about Jersey, I guess. But we covered Garden State, and we were talking about that. The big mansion that his friend lives in is a specific house, castle, something in New Jersey.
I forget the name of it, but it's another Jersey. And then we won't. We've got a few minutes left here. We won't just keep doing this the whole time.
Can I say this? So
you can say whatever you want.
John Marshall High School, right? Uh-huh. It was Grease, La Bamba, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Boy Meets World, Wonder Years, Kid and Cal, Sister, Nightmare on Elm Street, Can't Hardly Wait, Supernatural, Hannah Montana, Pretty in Pink, Good Burger, iCarly, Who's the Boss, apparently.
Oh my God.
Tommy, as a filmmaker, is there something that happens once a location has been used like once that makes it easier to use after that? Like, why does this happen?
I think it's like an actor, you know, like, oh, I had a really good experience working with this person, you know? And I think it's like, you know, what do they say about kid actors? It's like, it's not so much the kid, it's the parents.
Right.
You know? And I think there's this like a good relationship people have with some of the things. And like Liz at the Can't Hardly Wait house, they just had such big rooms, you know, so they could like do stuff, you know, so they could just move around and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's one of it. And then, you know, you don't have to re-educate someone on or you don't have to educate someone on this is what it's like, this is this and this is. So I think, you know, you always want someone that could be somewhat of a pro, you know?
Yeah.
But so like when you're talking about like looking at movies and thinking of Jersey, like I think of some of these things and I look at the houses, you know, and I looked up the Ferris Bueller house, you know, and I thought about it, and then I looked it up, and it was like somewhere in Long Beach, you know, in California, and it's Long Beach, yeah. And then I don't know how it was. I think I was watching Donnie Darko, and I was like, that house looks familiar. And it was on the same street that Ferris Bueller.
Whoa.
Right? So in my mind, okay, so Donnie Darko takes place in the 80s. You know, Ferris Bueller was in the 80s. You know, so they could have like hung out with each other. You know,
it's a crossover.
Obviously Donnie's going to a private school, you know, but, you know, Ferris Bueller's going to a public school. But when they're saving Ferris, Donnie has to see them, you know, he might a party, you know. So these, and then like, even like if you go to South Pasadena, like Andy's house from Pretty in Pink is like 2 blocks away from Michael Myers' house in South Pasadena, so they could have went to high school together.
Totally.
Who knows, you know? Or she might have knew the legend of Michael Myers. Yeah.
Love that.
Just to get this out of my brain, the house in Garden State, the big empty house, is the Crocker Mansion in Mawa.
Crocker Mansion, that's right.
What it was. I couldn't remember.
It's shown very briefly because it's already been torn down, but while we're doing this, the Addams Family house is based on a house in Westfield, New Jersey.
Nice.
The original creator of the Addams Family is from Westfield.
Well, there's also the Westfield Watcher house.
That's also true.
Is how this whole thing started.
Yeah.
Well, so it's not in the movie, it's in the DVD special features, but we went to the Who's the Boss house in New York.
Oh.
And that was like right near where they shot The Watcher.
Oh.
Yeah, because they didn't shoot The Watcher in Jersey.
Even
It did
though
not
it
look
was
like
set in
Jersey
New
at
York.
all.
Yeah.
It made me so
That
mad.
Netflix show that recently happened, right? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, so it was fucking, don't get me
It's
started.
so weird. It's so weird.
It made me very angry.
That house is near the Who's the Boss house, maybe like 10,
Interesting.
15 minutes away.
But again, also
White Plains, New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's supposed to be Westfield, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
But yeah, like we went to the Who's the Boss house and it was fun, but it just didn't fit into the way that it was like we took the fan there, like Rob on location, and which in the movie he's at the friend's house, the friend's apartment, and Sex and the City and stuff like that. So to bring him outside of the city just felt weird. But yeah, it's in the DVD special features, Who's the Boss house. And I got to ask, the wife and the husband were outside, and I was like, how many times have someone asked you who's the boss? You know? So it's my corny joke. Yeah, I'm a dad.
You're allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I would have been psyched about seeing that house again. Again,
absolutely.
because of my age, I watched all of those shows.
Absolutely.
Who's the Boss?
Well, when we were doing our Santa Claus documentary, we were in Chicago. We had like time to kill. We're like, should we just shot for shot remake Perfect Strangers? And we did, you know?
Why not?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, man.
Tommy, we've got just a couple of minutes left. I could talk about this forever. What did you as we're wrapping up here, what were you most surprised by? Because like you said, you went into this being like National Geographic. I'm going to put cameras in front of these, see people in houses and see kind of what happens. So what were you most surprised by?
I guess two things. The Rubio house, so the Can't Hardly Wait house is on Rubio Street in Altadena, California. And I was just surprised, I was like, wait, how many things are here? Like, it's just so crazy. Yeah. Like, as she's walking by, you're seeing Ghost Whisperers here. I was like, oh, wait, so Jennifer Love Hewitt was there twice? You know, did she know? You know? And, but also, like, when writing, I'm like, okay, well, let me think of movies that I want to see. Maybe what's a famous house? So I'd write them all down. And I started noticing that so many houses were on Bushnell Street in South Pasadena. And so as I looked, I was like, in one block, you have Biff's house from Back to the Future. And then a little bit down is the house he kicked the ball on in Back to the Future, which is also Luke Wilson's house from Old School, right next to Lorraine's house from Back to the Future, which is also the same house as Michael J. Fox's character from Teen Wolf. And then a little bit down is George McFly. A little bit down even further is Ghost Dad. And across the street is 30-something, all in one block, you know?
Beautiful craftsman houses.
Oh, my God. Yeah, they're amazing, you know? And so, I was just blown away by that. And we interviewed one of these neighbors, and, we cut out of the movie because it's so hard to make this joke work, and use your judgment if you want to keep it. But, he was like, yeah, it's like one of these crime shows use my house and they don't tell you what's going on. So we watched the episode and he's like, I found out someone got raped in my house.
Oh my God.
You know, I mean, obviously it's a story thing, you know,
yeah.
But a hard joke to make work, you know, but but it was very funny how he was watching and goes, all right, that's my house. Whoa, whoa. You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's so fast. It's funny because I feel like one of the big things Jody and I try to do to make this podcast feel like more of a project than just being like, remember that movie that's so good? Is putting all of exactly. Putting all of this stuff in conversation with each other, and it's just literally happening right there on that street already for us. Yeah. It's so fascinating.
Well, one of my favorite shots is when the neighbor Carmine waves to the neighbor Jason from the Old School house, and it's transition. He's like, "Hey, Carmine," and it's just we go right into it. It's such a TV show transition. It was such a fun, and that wasn't even that was Charlie, our DP. He shot the Defiant Ones.
Tommy, I could talk to you about this forever, and I know our listeners are going to love it. I'm gonna post links to tickets for the screening and where they can watch after that, and remind folks where they can follow you, keep up with the project, all of that.
Yeah, well, the website, it should be a Maximum Effort landing page. It's the house from. It's just Ryan Reynolds is our executive producer.
Just mention that. Right?
But yeah, and then so and I'm at the just my name, which is hard to spell. Tommy Avallone, Avallone, and number 3. And it's on the Instagram. I have a blue check. So
fancy.
Yeah, and I didn't pay for it. Just that.
Wow.
That's the real brag,
right?
So Tommy, this was so fun. Thank you so much for joining us today. I love the documentary. Everybody else is going to love it too.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being here.
So nostalgic. Such an interesting portrait of this whole subculture I had no idea existed.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because it's it's an hour and 40 minutes. So it's it's close to being long, but it doesn't feel long. And it's fun. So I'm happy you guys watched it because it's the first ones I really haven't heard anything back from. So
oh yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah,
nice.
We both got emotional more than once.
I love that. That's awesome. I hope that keeps happening for people. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Thank you.